Hey, it's Jacob Buchanan with Achilles Mortgage, presenting Mortgage and Muscle. I have Miss Bailey Bauernfeind here with One Legacy Title and Escrow. And we're going to talk a few things about title company, what they do in the transaction of buying or purchasing, refinancing a home, and the do's and don'ts, things you should look into, as well as, staying in shape, staying healthy, and doing good, feeling good, do better. So that's what we're talking about here today. How you doing today, Miss Bailey?
I'm doing really well, Jacob. Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Of course. So we like to start off with getting some information with your background, what you used to do previously, and how do you get into the real estate portion of title work and being an attorney and so forth.
Sure. I've been practicing law for 7 years now. I'm licensed in Florida, Virginia, Tennessee, and DC.
Okay.
When it comes to real estate, I had no idea I would ever get into property law.
Yeah.
Right out of law school, my first job was in litigation. So I did trial work, and primarily at the time, I was representing automotive manufacturers in their product liability defense. So very interesting.
Very interesting.
I got to work on some really, really neat cases with that.
Yeah.
And the period of time I did that, I realized that I just didn't love it.
Okay.
And it's funny, that's when I started trying to determine what area of law I really enjoyed. And I love real estate. I love real estate investing. My husband and I both do. And so an opportunity came up where I kind of just fell into real estate law. And this was about 5 years ago now.
Okay.
And just loved it. And so for the past 5 years, I've really just focused entirely on real estate, mainly transactional and residential. And while I enjoyed some of the trial work, and that was really neat, I don't really miss it. I love what I get to do for my clients now.
Makes
it's
sense.
really
Makes sense. I just got to ask this question: were you part of the time when they you get these big, when the vehicles are having a lot of problems, and they have those big insurance returns or warranty returns? What is it called?
Recall?
Recalls, yeah.
So no, we actually didn't do a lot of that. We did more of the specific instances.
Okay.
It sounds horrible, but you think of a major tragic accident. Something goes wrong, and a lot of people, their first instinct is to sue everyone involved. So they're going to sue the automotive manufacturer, the dealership, you name it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you name it, they'll initially start a lawsuit with just anyone they think may have some kind of liability.
Okay.
And those cases take years. I mean, when I first joined that law firm, was working on a case. It was actually here in Florida, and we'd been on it for almost 10 years at the time.
Wow.
So they take a long time. They're the type of cases where you get worried about runaway jury verdicts, where the settlement's really, really high and things like that. But ultimately, if an automotive manufacturer is going to be taking that on, they are pretty confident that they're not at fault, or they'd settle.
That makes sense. Wow.
In my experience.
Very interesting stuff. Very interesting. So if you don't mind, what is kind of the background on opening your own real estate title company?
So I really love what I get to do with my clients. And I was doing really exclusively the legal side for a while. And just the opportunity came up where I could open my own company and really be able to help clients. And that's kind of it. I moved here from Virginia recently. We followed some referral partners down here.
Okay.
And just love Florida so far, and love the people
weather.
here. Absolutely love the weather. I mean, the people are so nice.
People are nice, yeah.
Partly probably because it's sunny every single day.
Yeah.
So how can you not be nice? But the people are great. The weather's wonderful. And something that I like, and this is different from what I used to do in the trial world, is here, doing residential real estate especially, and I know you see this, you really get to focus and help the community you're living in.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something that's really unique, and something that I am very entrepreneurial in a lot of ways. And so to me, the idea of opening a business where I can touch the people in my community, I feel like is just really, really neat.
Awesome.
And so that's kind of why I decided I wanted to start something.
What would you say, a lot of people in the industry we know on this side of the transaction as a realtor or a broker or lender is two things that usually kill deals if you do due diligence is an appraisal or title work. What are two things or a few things that you see that comes up that are problematic, that are not solvable or are solvable? But
so I will say most things are solvable. And that's one of the nicest things about this. I'm sure I'm a little biased to say this, but I never think that someone should work with a company that does not have an attorney.
Okay, for sure.
Because there is a solution to just about every problem, but sometimes a title company on their own without having the extra legal side probably can't handle everything or know where to go or be able to step in.
Or how they even read the information accurately, would you say?
And that maybe, that just depends.
Okay.
But a lot of issues I've seen, for instance, that have taken the longest time to get closed, I would say revolve around probate, for instance.
Yep, okay.
Unfortunately, a lot of people don't know that much about that until it's too late, where someone's passed away.
Understood.
And real property, someone always owns the real estate. So it's not like something you can just wash your hands of.
True.
You know, if your relative owned it and they passed away, you didn't necessarily want to inherit the property, but now you did. And you yourself or some of your siblings or others that might at this point be distant relatives who somehow in the chain also have an interest in the property, might have liens on title that have to be addressed.
Okay.
There's all kinds of things that come up. So that's actually probably one of the biggest deal killers I have seen
probate,
is when there is some kind of prior probate issue that hasn't been resolved.
That is true. A thing that maybe a lot of people don't know of, and I try to introduce them a lot to it, either they need to refinance or take an ex-spouse off or things like that, is a quit claim deed. Would you mind elaborating on that a little bit?
Sure. So there's different types of deeds. If you're buying a property, you typically have a general warranty deed. And with those warranties, there's 6 warranties. I'm not going to bore everyone with that, but just know that essentially you're getting a deed that says, I am able to convey this property to you as the buyer, and I am warranting that I have good title and that I can give that over to you. That's kind of the simplest way to describe it. A quit claim deed is when someone essentially washes their hands of the property and says, I am passing on this property to you, and I'm not providing you any of those warranties. So you can't come back later on and say, oh, there's a title issue that came up, or oh, it turns out there's someone else that had an interest that you might not have known of. They're basically just saying that I am going to convey this property without any of those warranties. And it's a very common way for people to convey property if they're not selling. So a lot of times within family members, you'll see that. You might see in a divorce proceeding that that's a requirement, that there is a deed where one spouse, transfers their interest to the other and things like that. So that's probably why you see that most commonly.
So there's 6 different types, though, you're saying?
So there's 6 warranties.
6, warranty,
No one's ever going to care about that.
Yeah.
If you work with a good title company, you'll make sure you're taken care of. But essentially, a quit claim deed doesn't give any kind of warranty. It's just the conveyance itself.
Of the property
so
itself.
it's riskier, but a lot of people use it because it's very simple. You don't have to do all of that back work of the title search and things like that.
That is some background
So that's why you oftentimes will see people use that.
Makes sense. Would you say moving down here from Virginia, do you feel that there's a difference in the market working here in Jacksonville compared to the market up there?
It's challenging to say because the markets are different. Jacksonville's a bit bigger and has kind of a different fluctuation of real estate when it comes to, the high end of the market here is a lot higher than the market in Virginia.
True.
So at least the part of Virginia I was in.
That makes sense.
But otherwise, it's very, very similar in a lot of ways, which I think's made the transition for me and my staff pretty easy, which has been wonderful.
That makes sense. I was licensed in Virginia as well, so I would say the market's fairly similar, especially like Richmond area.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What would you say the benefit of working with your company, One Legacy Title, compared to another's, and what benefits could you convey to them more or less at this point?
Oh, absolutely. We're a boutique office. And I think that there's something that's nice about that as opposed to some of the bigger offices, partly because we're really relational. This is a bit of a tangent, but I don't know if you know much about Truett Cathy's story with Chick-fil-A. Well,
no.
Long story short on that, I really admire Truett Cathy and how he started Chick-fil-A and how he's really built that.
No, for sure. Huge brand
I think
now.
Beyond just being a Christian, there's just a lot of really incredible things. And I remember I was reading one day the story of him when he went into, I think it was a Ritz-Carlton, and they said, my pleasure, and did all of these things that were just a little bit different that made it that, Ritz experience. And he somehow decided he was going to turn that into his chicken sandwich business. And I thought, that's amazing. And something that I think that's kind of neat about a boutique office like mine, we have the ability to try to do some little things that other offices might not do to give our clients the feeling that they are people actually going through one of the biggest transactions of their entire life.
Gotcha.
Rather than them feeling like they're transactions.
Yeah,
and I
just
think
a number.
At a lot of companies, and I don't want to say anything negative about other companies, but there are a lot of companies where you will feel like you are just a number, like you said. You're just another file. And so something we do, a few little things that are unique that, as people work with us, I think they'll get to see, that I think I've seen our clients just light up when they see that, or when they hear that, or when they receive that email that they didn't expect, just giving them the comfort of, this is where we are, this is what we're able to do for you. Don't worry, we have done this 1,000 times, even though this might be the first or second time you've ever experienced this.
No, for sure.
And so to me, just being able to give people that little extra touches, kind of like the my pleasure makes people feel good, and little things like that, little things that we do here.
Going above and beyond.
I think set us apart in my office in Virginia, and I think will set us apart here.
Awesome, that's beautiful. Another thing I like to talk about is that there's certain people that has a problem and they don't find a solution, or they just let it go, or people that do find a solution. And Miss Bailey, I just asked her a question. She was able to come back and give me a little bit of insight on underwriting and difference between different title companies and things like that. Could you give us a little insight on that?
Oh, absolutely. I care a lot about education. I am definitely someone that is a student of learning. I am always trying to learn what I can. I personally am someone that, I think I read 50 books last year. I love to read.
Get my reading up. Wow.
I'm always listening. We have continuing legal education, so I look at that. With the bar in Florida, they have something called Reptile. It's the real property probate trust law section. I'm involved in that learning. I listen to the podcasts and things like that to see what others in the industry are talking about. And so to me, I love also being able to educate others. And I try to make sure that as I'm working with people and building those relationships, whether it's a lender, a real estate agent, or a client directly, that I am always available to answer their questions and to help them understand why certain things are needed and why we're doing things a certain way. And just to understand some of the little nuances that people might not otherwise learn, because I personally like learning those. And I think it makes it such a smoother transaction for people if they understand them.
For sure.
And kind of like you said, I feel like when you're constantly learning, you're also constantly looking for solutions to problems, because you're trying to gain that knowledge and learn how you can do this. And I think that is, like you said, I think that's something that sets my office apart a little bit as well, because we really are solutions-based.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's just a ton of information, and you don't hesitate to give her a call, email her, and she'll go over your information, what's going on with your file. At this point in time, this is Mortgage and Muscles. Go if you want to flex really quick. There you go. So this is the portion where we talk about health and fitness and, doing good, feeling good, looking good. So what do you do to keep your body moving, staying in shape, things of that nature?
Oh, yeah. So my husband and I are members of Planet Fitness.
There we go. Okay.
And we try to go a couple times a week. Before we got married a few years ago, I started working with a personal trainer.
Okay.
And I am not an athletic person, but I want to be healthy. So I thought, beyond just doing cardio and those 10,000 steps a day, what could I be doing? And my trainer at the time really taught me a lot about learning how to change my habits.
Okay.
So for me, that has been incredibly helpful. And it's also helped me to watch my eating as well, because before I started working with her, I had no idea really what I was eating and how that was affecting my fitness goals.
Absolutely.
And so then when I started monitoring that and then keeping track of my actually being in the gym and what I'm doing in the gym and things like that. Honestly, that's changed my life a lot.
That's awesome. You are what you eat, what you're putting in. That's that energy. Absolutely, that makes sense. Would you say diet is more important or equal to? And is there certain specific exercises you like, or your favorites? What's going on over there?
So I love arm day. So I really like pull, not as much push.
Okay.
But my husband always laughs at me because I don't do legs nearly as much as I probably should, which I know is really important.
Yeah, but that's actually, it's funny you say that, because most women focus on the legs and not the upper body.
Well, that's why my husband laughs at me, but I have knee issues. I don't know why. I'm just an old woman at this point. So I hate doing that, because then I always have soreness, and I like to be active outside. We like to golf, so I don't like when my knees hurt.
Okay.
But it's funny, right now I'm actually reading, I think it's called Good Energy, and it's something where I'm really trying to better understand the food you're eating and how it affects you in multiple ways, because I do think that if you focus on having a healthier diet, then you'll see the results faster.
For sure, for sure.
And I tried to pretend like that wasn't true for a long time. And then finally one day I said, okay, let me try this, like my trainer had told me. And then sure enough, I actually started to see results. So I'm sure they're equally as important.
Yeah, I would
but
say so.
you can't really do one or the other. In my experience, you can't really do one or the other.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they go hand in hand. I would say I try to do a physique show. I haven't competed personally, but diet is 85%, 80% of it, I would definitely say. One thing I wanted to ask you, as the market is changing, refinancing, hopefully it'll come back around soon. What are the benefits working with you in the refinance transactions that could potentially be taking place soon?
Oh, I mean, I think working with my office, especially with me being able to bring that same legal knowledge, a lot of people don't realize that in a refinance, your title insurance is just as important.
Just as important. The cost is still there as well. So
yes, and a lot of people don't understand that. And then when they see things come up during their refinance, they don't worry as much about who they're working with from a title side because they assume it's going to be something that's simple.
Yeah.
And then when it's not, and they realize that they want this lower interest rate, for instance, and now they have a short window of time to make sure that closes. You need someone who's solutions based on your side to be able to take care of everything, understand it, explain it. And that's just something I've always been good at. And I care about my clients, whether it's a refinance, purchase, or sale, the same way.
Get the same experience. Get the same experience.
Exactly. Look at the same.
One thing with refinancing is that people don't understand that sometimes a previous title company could oversought something, and they would be making a huge error in their title policy. Then when you do the refinance, something populates on title, and we have to find a solution for it.
Yes.
So that happens a lot. So that's why people like her would be a good portion of the transaction to assist you moving forward. Well, it's a pleasure speaking with you, Miss Bailey. Hopefully we'll have you soon and have another episode coming up in a few. But if you have any questions and wanted to discuss any transactions or working with Miss Bailey and her One Title and Legacy, give a call, email, phone number, so forth will be on the bottom of the video. If you want to contact me for any mortgage advice or any transactions as well, I'll look forward to hearing from you, and we'll see you next time.